Okay, it's 7 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So excited to have such a nice turnout this evening for our Canvas parent training, and even more excited to be at this part of our journey. It's been a long summer planning for all things technology and online learning and all the many new changes. But being a couple of weeks into the school year now, we're feeling like we're in a much better place, and we're excited about the remainder of this year and all the things we're going to learn. So just a couple of reminders about being online in a virtual meeting such as this. Please make sure that you have yourself muted so we're not hearing lots of background noise, and so that our presenter can speak and we'll all be able to hear him clearly. If you have any questions at any time, there is a chat button. It's in a different place depending on what kind of device you're using, whether it is your phone or your iPad or a computer, but there should be a chat button and you can ask us a question anytime. We'll try to monitor those and answer them as they come in. And there will be an opportunity at the end to also ask some additional questions. So we will try to make sure we can answer all of the things that you're wondering about tonight. My name is Amber Kowach, and I'm the Curriculum Director for Manistee Area Public Schools. And we have also Ken Blakey-Shell on the line, who is our Technology Director for Manistee Public Schools. And the most exciting person, I think, is Nick Wisman, who is a parent, a MAPS parent. And I'm going to let him introduce why he's doing this, but he knows a lot about Canvas, and he volunteered to be a part of our Return to Learn task force when we were just starting all of the planning for this school year. And when he found out we were doing Canvas, he said, how can I help? I really want to be a part of this. So we're super grateful to have his expertise, not only from being a Canvas user, but also being a parent of a child who is learning online this year. So he's had some really good experiences that he's going to be speaking to this evening. So Nick, without further ado, I'm going to turn it right on over to you, okay?
You might have a little bit of a, oh, there's Nick, never mind.
All right, thanks, Ken. Yeah, I was taking a second to unmute, but thanks for introducing me, Amber. Like you said, I am a parent, but in my day job, I also use Canvas pretty much every day. So I've seen it from a couple different perspectives now. It's been interesting to see it as a parent, because I'm usually on the other side where I'm building courses, but I thought I would walk through a couple things that you might want to know how to do as a parent. So I'm going to try and share my screen here. And Ken or Amber, can you let me know when you can see a Canvas dashboard? Okay, great. So I thought we'd start with the first task that you probably want to do as a parent, which is pairing with your student's account. And this is showing, it's sort of my account, but it's set up as a student. So you're seeing some feedback over here. I did not do very well. I was entering the questions at random. I'm apparently not smarter than a fifth grader, which is what the content is. But your student can already get into Canvas if they're in their device and they select the Canvas icon. So they'll know how to do that. And there were instructions sent out for how to pair. But just to show you what it looks like, when your student is in their account, when they're on there, this is called the Canvas dashboard. If they go to their account button and they hit settings, then there it is. That's giving me a heart attack for a second. The pair with observer button will be over here amongst a couple other options. So if you click that button, it'll give you a unique code for your student. And you're going to make sure to copy that and store it so that you have that handy for when you log in as so I'm going to log out. And on the Manistee, the MAPS website, there's a family resources button here. And when it loads, one of the first options here is the Canvas login. So if you hit that button as a parent, that'll bring you back to this screen here. And the first time you access this screen, you're going to want to hit, again, this is in the PDF instructions that went out, but if you hit the parent of a Canvas user, I'm going to call this not myself. Oops. Hold on. I'm going to put the parent code down there. You want to put in your email. You can choose, I'll show you how to choose the notification settings for this. So you can choose not to get any emails if you don't want to, or you can choose to get some notifications about how your students doing and what assignments are upcoming and so on. But that's all you have to enter at the beginning. And it's loading here. So once you've entered that info on the dashboard, you will see the courses that your student is enrolled in. And one important bit of Canvas terminology is that you are technically an observer. So you'll see a lot of lingo that I am observing Nick Wisman. If you look for any Canvas tutorials, you're going to be looking for the observer guides, but it basically means parent account in our context. So a couple quick things about Canvas while we're here. Again, this is the dashboard. This is the default login view. We'll go into the courses in a second. You've got a couple other options here. One is the account, and it actually springs the notification preferences here at the top. You can get there in the future by going to account, but it doesn't hurt to go here the first time you're in. And Canvas will give you a lot of options here, but basically they're breaking down different course events here. And then up at the top, you'll notice the legend, they have different options for when you want to be notified. So if you want to get emails regularly about all these different events, you can choose either notify me right away or send daily summary. Or if you don't want to be quite that involved, you can change a lot of these things to don't send me anything or just send me a weekly summary. So I'd encourage you to go through all this. You may not want many of these on at all, but it doesn't hurt to have the announcements clicked on to either right away or daily. So you know what your teacher is sending out to your students. And beyond that, I'd say it's sort of up to you. Courses is just another way to look at courses. Calendar is not too relevant at the moment, but or at least for 5th grade, I don't know if high school is setting due dates for their assignments, but that is one way to see an overall view of all the different assignments that your student may have due. And the inbox is actually a way to communicate through Canvas to your teachers. And I know different teachers in different grades might be using some different systems like Seesaw to communicate, but this is another way. If you want to create a new email, just come over to here. You can select the courses your students enrolled in. If you hit this button here, it'll give you an option for the teachers. Amber is my teacher in this dummy course, so I could select her, and then you can write your message and send it. So going into one of these courses as a parent, you've probably already seen this if you've been looking at your students' Canvas device, but the courses are laid out on the home page, which is also the modules page. And this is a 5th grade class. It's a little bit truncated, but the assignments are laid out here. If there are announcements in the class, they'll appear at this link here. If there are no announcements, that link won't be visible yet. Modules will take you to the same page. And then you have a couple different options for looking at the actual assignments or discussions within the course. Most likely though, unless you're helping your student during the day, you may just want to go in and check grades to see how your kid is doing and what kind of feedback they're receiving. So it's taking a second to load. And you can see total over here in the corner. You can also see there's a fair amount here. But you can look at, if you scroll down, you'll see those are the total points. Those are what I scored. There is a comment here provided by Amber, but you can see some of that personalized feedback that your teacher is giving to your student. Another way to look at grades, if you don't want to go into the courses individually, students have something similar over here on the right. It's a coming up or a to-do list, but for us, you can also click the view grades option here. And then that'll give you a snapshot of all the courses, the total grades. And again, just to emphasize, this probably isn't their actual final grade. This is just how they're doing within Canvas. I know that there's another tool, Amber, you'll have to remind me the name of it, but that's where they're their full grades are listed, but this will show you what they're doing on a day-to-day basis in Canvas.
Yeah, thanks for adding that last part, Nick. You're absolutely right. That is a caution we want to share, that the final grades in Canvas may not be the final grade that is in PowerSchool for a variety of reasons. But so just know that as you're looking at grades, you will absolutely be able to see assignment grades for individual things, but PowerSchool will hold the final grades for your child. So just know that. As we work to streamline our systems even more, those may become closer and closer to being the actual grade. But for now, we're letting families know PowerSchool is where the final grade is going to live for your child.
All right, thank you, Amber. So actually, we didn't have too much left to demo here. One thing that I know that some students have been struggling with, though, is how to submit assignments that there doesn't seem to be an obvious submission page for. So part of that may be that the page just hasn't appeared here. If you look at the different icons for the items here in the list, that's a link. This is a quiz, and this is an assignment here. So usually the issues are that there may not have been a submit button here. And actually there's not one popping up there. But so the fail-safe is usually your student can do this, or you could do it if you needed to. If you go to the inbox again that we looked at earlier, and you can create a new message, choose your course, choose your teacher, and every message has the option to add an attachment. So you could either, depending on what your student is doing, you could take a screenshot if they were working on their iPad. If they were working offline and they printed out the assignment, you can take a picture, but you can add that in as attachment and send it that way. And I can't quite demo it from my daughter's iPad, but another thing to point out here is that in the same family resources link, I did throw together a little Canvas training course, or we're calling it the MAPS Family Canvas Resources. There are some of what I just showed you about how to pair is on this page as well here. And there's a video there that'll walk you through it. That's the official Canvas video. It might look slightly different than the MAPS interface, but the steps are still basically the same. There are some additional links here for navigating Canvas as an observer. And remember, that's the Canvas terminology for the account that you have as a parent, but it's observer means parent here. A couple links there. And then on the last page here, I linked to the Canvas observer guide tests, which Canvas, one thing I really like about it a lot, and I use this at work all the time, is they have a lot of existing documentation out there. So most of these guides have screenshots, and they'll walk you through it step by step. And again, the images might look a little different, but it's basically the same steps. Another way that you can find just about anything you need is to Google, how do I do X in Canvas? And you're almost always going to get something. But with, sorry, the Zoom interface is at the top of where I want to click up here. With my daughter's teacher's permission, she actually put together a little video for how to upload video, or how to upload assignments when there isn't an obvious submission page. So it's what I just showed a second ago, where it's using the inbox to attach a file. But she's got a video here that you can look at if you would like. And Amber also wanted me to note that workbooks are on their way, I think, for the elementary students.
Yeah,
so they
that's correct.
have, yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. So for our K-5 students, we learned that Accelerate Education, who provides the digital content for us, has created workbooks for ELA and math. So our K-5 students will be receiving those workbooks. So you will actually have a hard copy of all of the assignments that they ask you to download and complete. So we feel like that'll really save you quite a few steps for our K-5 students at least. So if your child is working on an iPad, which our K-5 kiddos are, then you'll have that actual workbook in front of you. Students can complete that assignment and take a picture of it and upload it into the assignment button. And Nick, I am wondering if you might be able to find a submission that has that blue submit button, so we can also look at what it looks like from that view.
See if we've got one in this course here. So I'm not sure why it's not showing up here. I will pull it up real quick in one of the guides. But Amber, maybe while I'm doing that, do you want to talk briefly about some suggestions for learning at home, some habits to establish?
Yeah, and I'm wondering, before we move into that, we've talked about pairing with a student. We've talked a little bit about the navigation, just showing you kind of what the dashboard looks like and how to get into your notification settings. We've talked, Nick showed how to find grades, and we're kind of still exploring that assignment submission piece. I'm wondering if there are any questions about that. There is a question in the chat that asked if we're going to have a Q&A. Absolutely. And if you have a question right now that pertains to one of those pieces, we'd be happy to hear it.
I don't know if they can hear you though. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
So yeah, I did have a question, but I don't think it's concerning anything that you have addressed at this time.
Okay, go ahead if you'd like.
Okay, so my continuous issue that I've been having is, so my students have had obviously issues signing into Canvas, period. But then my biggest issue is they're completing assignments, and on my end, when we look at their laptops or iPads, it either says your answers, like your answers have been received, assignments submitted, etc. Yet I'm receiving numerous emails from their teachers saying that they haven't even done the homework. So,
okay.
so yeah, my son had like received the thing saying that he was like 8 assignments behind or something. And then like my daughter had received one saying something about the math, but on my end, like I took screenshots and emailed them to them. On my end, it's saying that it's done, but yet they're not actually receiving the work.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm sorry that that's happening. We want to get that figured out. I'm wondering, is your name Alicia?
Yes, ma'am.
What are your children's last name? And maybe I could contact you tomorrow and we could sort through that together.
Okay, so both of their last names would be Leon, Leon.
Okay, perfect. I would love to chat through that so we can make sure we get it figured out.
Yeah, it's a 6th grader and a 7th grader. So like the 6th grader had something from the math saying that she hadn't done it yet. I took a screenshot on my end. It's saying that her work is done.
Okay.
And still not receiving it. So I'm not understanding what
That was very clever of you to take a screenshot. Very clever. So yeah, I will get a hold of you tomorrow and we will get that figured out. I also heard you say something about having, one thing I wanted to mention was that the best way to log in is by clicking on login with Google. All our students have Google accounts. Encourage you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, so that was my only concern. I'm still gonna listen, I'm still gonna follow, but like my only concern was them actually doing it, but the teacher's not actually receiving it.
Excellent. Okay, we'll get that sorted out. Thanks, Alicia. All right. Nick, see those submit buttons?
For to the main account, I can add one more. Yeah, the Amber was talking about right here on the login screen.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Anybody else have questions? Oh, go ahead.
We were saying the same thing. Does anybody else have a question? All right, so while Nick is pulling up that, oh, wait, I will slow down and let you finish this part before we go into the next section.
And this may, we're gonna have to do a student view here, but hold on. So this will just take a second if you want to start the next section, actually.
Okay, we have someone who has another question. Jennifer, go ahead.
Okay, I am just unmuting. I don't know what I look like on this end, if you can see me or not. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you great.
Was the Canvas, my daughter was unable to log in today and she still can't. Is it supposed to be up and running right now, or is it, are you guys still having issues with it?
Great question. Gosh, I'm sorry that happened. Ken, I'm wondering if you might be able to respond to that. Were there any known issues with Canvas today?
Yes, there were issues that affected students 3rd grade through 12th grade for several hours today.
Okay.
They should be resolved now. I was just in Canvas before we started this meeting and everything was working just fine.
Okay, then we're still, because she just logged in while I was listening to you guys, so I could see if I needed to ask this question while I was live. It's not even coming up. Like, she clicks the app and it just comes up with a bunch of apps. Mrs. Zimmerman I took a video of what was happening and she sent an email to you. Unless you want me to show you here or later.
I think, yeah, we'll
Yeah,
look at that a little bit later.
Okay, cool. She just was unable to, so I just wasn't sure. Okay.
Yeah, my
Jennifer,
daughter
I
actually had
appreciate-
issues too. It was down for a couple hours, but she was able to get in later. So hopefully that's working through. All right, here we go. This is
I
what an assignment
appreciate
page
that.
is supposed to look like. So
Go
there
ahead.
should be the more actual instructions here. This is just a quick test page I put together, but you're looking for this blue submit assignment button up here. For the most part, sometimes an assignment will allow you to submit a different way. But the options here, you can add a variety of files. Usually you can add a couple comments to it. And then when you are totally done, you click the second submit assignment button there.
So am I hearing correctly that there's either going to be a submit assignment button, which is the most likely scenario, or your
Mhm.
teachers may have given other directions for another way to submit something?
Correct, yeah. And I don't think, I mean, there could be other third-party tools that are doing something, but I think for the most part, I've just seen you guys have either the blue assignment button here, for instance, if the student is supposed to turn in a worksheet, and that would be most of it.
Great, thanks. And Jennifer, thanks so much for bringing up that issue. That is something that will occasionally happen from time to time with any type of technology program. There may just be occasional times where it goes down. And so I appreciate you being persistent and contacting your child's teacher and just trying to remedy that. So thank you for bringing that up. That does happen from time to time, and hopefully it won't be very frequent. Okay. Are there any other questions? Oh, okay, let's see. We had trouble with first grade for a few hours also. Mrs. Wilson said we weren't the only first graders unable to log in. So it sounds like it was a pretty widespread issue today. Another person said, if you just click the app on the main screen, will that allow you to be counted for attendance? We've been accessing Canvas this way and haven't used login from Google. So this is Tiana, I believe. Tiana, is this on a laptop or an iPad? I apologize if you said it and I missed it, Tiana. I would say though, regardless probably of what device you're using, is if you are in and seeing your child's courses and your child's information, then that will be recorded. Mm-hmm. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Logging in, or if you're pulling up that web clip or that app icon and you're not seeing your own child's work, you're seeing something that looks more like a dummy account, then I would be concerned about that and try to figure out how to log in right away. But if it's your child's name and work, then I think you're in good shape. Another parent said, curious about attendance as well. Do they need to enter each course at the MMHS level or just enter Canvas once a day and complete work by the due date? Yeah, so that's a really great question. What we expect of our online learners, just like we expect from our in-person learners, is that they show up every day and they check in with each of their teachers. So our in-person students are showing up every day and going to each of their classes, and our online learners should be showing up in Canvas every day and going to each of their courses. Teachers should be pushing out content daily in all of their classes. So whether you have a secondary student who has multiple teachers throughout the day, or an elementary student who has one teacher but different classes, such as ELA or math or science, either way, they should be going through each of those courses daily to see what information is there and what their activities are. Okay, wondering if there are any other questions. Okay. We wanted to share a couple of tips for learning from home. I'm sure that now you're a couple weeks in, you guys are sort of figuring out a little routine that might work best for your students, but just a couple of things to think about as you're trying to set up a space and a schedule for your child or children that works. One of the most important things is to make sure that you are reading all of the directions that are laid out for you in front of you on each of the courses. So typically a student in a classroom will hear their teacher speak to a lot of different things. A lot of directions will be given. There'll be time for question and answer. In an online environment, the teacher is not right in front of you. And so they're doing their best to spell out all of the directions in Word or in audio or through a video on the screen in Canvas. So in order to be set up for success, it's really important that you or that your child reads through each step-by-step direction that is given, so they have all the details to know exactly what they need to do. Another good piece of advice would be to create a space at home that's really designed for your student to do their schoolwork. So this, that might not be in the middle of the living room where there's a lot of activity during the time when your child is learning. It might need to be maybe in a different room of your house, a dining room, or wherever it works for you, but a space that is just dedicated to learning, so that when students go to that space, they understand and feel that this is when and where learning needs to happen. And just trying to make it as distraction-free as possible. I know that's not always possible. I have a 4-year-old running around at home and she's very noisy. So, it's not always possible to have a perfectly quiet space, but as quiet and as distraction-free as possible, the better it will be for your student as they're going through their work. Another important thing is to establish a really consistent time each day when learning is going to happen. So for some families, that might be first thing in the morning. And for some families, we know you're working during the day, and that might be, in the evening between the hours of 5 and 9 p.m. or something. But establishing that consistent time helps students know when they need to be on and prepared and ready to go for their classwork. And it just helps them have a good routine. And remember that needs to take place daily. Our students do need to be checking in every day on Canvas with each of their classes. Another helpful thing is to set a timer for your students so that they are getting some regular breaks and movement. In a typical classroom setting, our youngest learners, they're being taught something for a few minutes or working with other students, and then they have some movement, whether they're moving from a table to another location, or they stand up and do a wiggle break. They're getting a lot of movement. But even our older kids need that too. And if you think about a typical schedule for a secondary student, they are moving from class to class throughout the day, so they are getting those movement breaks in. So we just set a timer so that they're also getting some movement in. The last thing we would want is for them to be sitting in front of a screen for hours and hours during the day and not having any movement breaks, getting up, getting a drink of water, those sorts of things. Those are really important to help keep your brain in tip-top shape so you can be ready and prepared to learn. Another thing that's helpful is once you've established your regular schedule for learning time, keeping things like TV or YouTube or video games, out of that scheduled time for learning really just helps your student stay focused and stay on task. So making sure that if this is your established school time, that some of those other things that kids like to do are not a part of that. Really having designated times for when we'll do school and when we'll do all of the other things that we'll accomplish during the day. Keeping that consistent can be very helpful. Are there any other questions about learning at home or our online platform or anything else that we can help with?
I have another question.
Sure.
So are the kids allowed to do homework ahead of time? So say like if it's Monday and they do everything on Monday, are they able to start Tuesdays?
That is a great question. So most of our teachers are pushing out content each day. Because we're new at this too, we've got, you know, a few teachers that we're starting to push things out more of a weekly view. And there's pros and cons to both, but we're really trying to make sure it's clear as mud that there is something that should be done every single day. So I would encourage your student to try to stay on pace with that for attendance purposes and so they don't feel overloaded. Of course, if they miss an assignment or activity, they can absolutely go back and look at that and get caught up. But I would encourage them to really kind of break it down day by day.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. There's another question in the chat. Some of my child's work doesn't have a due date on Canvas, but it's graded, and then I know it's not done. Is there a way to make sure due dates are listed? Yeah, that's something we're sorting out too. And Ken, if there's anything you are aware of that you want to jump in on this, that's another thing we're starting to get better at because teachers are recognizing the organizational benefits of that, having those due dates. But a lot of the content that was given to us wasn't set up that way from the beginning. So I do think we're getting better and better at that. And I think that's a really great suggestion to keep things a little bit more organized for both our students and our staff. There's another question that says, so, oh, yep, can the kids do homework ahead of time? We answered that one. Are there any other questions? We completely understand that this is new for everyone. And I personally just want to say I'm so grateful for all of our families. They've been so wonderful and supportive. I've chatted with a couple of you on the phone. I recognize the names and we're able to troubleshoot a few things. And I'm just so appreciative that when you get stuck, you're reaching out and letting us help you, because we definitely want to do everything we can so that your children are successful this year. It's really important to us, especially in this new learning environment. We have a lot to learn and areas to grow in, but we want to make sure everybody is getting what they need. Question about the workbooks. Will the workbooks you mentioned be mailed to the online learners? Yeah, that's a great question. Those I'm hoping will be here either by the, well, let's see, we ordered them last week. I'm hoping by the end of this week or the very beginning of next week, they'll be here. And we will likely have an opportunity for families to pick them up at the school because we can get a lot out in a shorter amount of time that way and get them to more quickly. But then we will absolutely be putting them in the mail. So if you'd rather not come on campus or that's just not doable for you, we'll absolutely mail them to you and get them to you. So that's no problem at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Were there any other questions? So Ken, I believe I'm seeing the recording button blinking up in the top. So that means that we will have this to review. So if, you know, Nick, any of the content that Nick shared earlier, you'll be able to go back and watch that step by step. And again, just another reminder, he pulled us to it a couple of times. The chipslead.org website has a lot of information on that family resources page. And anything new that we create or through that website page. So I highly encourage you to go there whenever you're stumped on something or need more information. And if it's not there, call us, let us know. We want to help you and we want to definitely get it out there for other families to know about too. Okay. Ken or Nick, is there anything else? Oh, wait, one more question. When a teacher hasn't assigned anything until Friday and expects the child to have it done that day for the whole week, how can I assist with more time? Is that just a teacher question? Yeah, that might just be an individual teacher question. If you're experiencing that in multiple classes or courses, then yeah, we should definitely remedy that. I'm not sure I understand it fully, but to me it sounds more like an individual thing. Okay, so, oh, if they don't have any work. So this person says, if at this point they don't have any work from a teacher, should I notify the office? Yes. I'm not sure if I'm understanding your question correctly, but, so feel free to chime in if I'm a little off. If your child is enrolled in a course and you're not seeing any work, it likely may not be the right course that they're enrolled in. And we would like to remedy that as well. So Laura, if I didn't answer that correctly, please chime in and let me know. Yeah, okay, great.
I just say thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm so glad you could be here.
So you'll get with me tomorrow on that issue that I'm having? All right,
You're
perfect.
on my list, Alicia. I'll be calling you.
All right. Have a nice evening.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. If there are any other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I'll stay on for a couple more minutes, but otherwise, thank you so much. And thank you, Nick, for helping us out tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure thing.
We really do.